Back here, first things first. Quarterback Mac Jones was nothing shy of great this past season at Alabama. Broke college football records for completion percentage and passing efficiency. But how much of that had to do with those weapons he had down there in Tuscaloosa? Not all that different from the situation Matt Leinart had at USC. Look at that, Reggie Bush among them. Matt joins us this morning. Matt, good morning. Thanks for being with us. How should we gauge Mac Jones' NFL pedigree, given that all the abundance of weapons he had there in Alabama?
Well, first of all, it's great to be on with you guys. Bright and early over here in Southern California. But
right.
Sure.
yeah, look, and by the way, I just heard Coach talk about snowing. It was 80 degrees here down in Manhattan Beach yesterday. So we'll be at the beach later on. Yeah, but no, I think it's sort of an unfair argument for Mac Jones. I mean, I think you criticize him for going to an elite school and being an elite player surrounded by elite talent. I don't think we should be able to fault him for that. I do understand when you have Devontae and you have Waddle and you have Najee Harris and you have these guys, and you saw the graphic, I had phenomenal players around me, and I'll always be the first to admit they made me better. But I'm a true believer in Mac Jones's talent. He's not going to wow you with the athleticism, which is another criticism that he's been getting here before the draft. But I think what it takes to be a successful quarterback, there's a lot of things in the NFL, and it's not just being able to run a 4.4. You don't have to be able to run a 4.4 in the NFL to be successful. What you have to be able to do is process information fast. You have to be able to get the ball out on time. You have to be accurate. You have to make great decisions. You have to be able to understand what defenses are doing to you and dissect them. And then most importantly, can you throw a deep ball accurately? He throws one of the best deep balls in college football. I know he was a little errant in his pro day the other day, but the film doesn't lie. And then also with pressure in his face. I know he had a great offense line, but there's a lot of times throughout the season where people are bringing pressure and bringing blitzes, and he gets the ball out quickly. So, look, he's not going to wow you with the measurables, but he wows you with the consistency you see on film. He did it week in and week out against the toughest competition in all of college football. And lastly, I would say about Mac Jones, and obviously I know Steve Sarkisian extremely well. He was my coach at USC, and he was Mac Jones' coach last year. I talked to him before the season, and I just said, hey, what do you like about Mac Jones? Remember, he was replacing Tua. He was fending off Bryce Young, the #1 recruit in all of in high school football from my former high school, Mater Dei. And he said, he is the ultra competitor. And for me, that's one of the traits that you need to make it in the NFL, because a lot of these guys, they have talent, whether they can run fast, whether they can throw the football far. Do you have that competitive desire and passion to be great? And that was the first thing he said to me. He said, dude, Matt, this kid is so freaking competitive. He wants to win. He wants to be great. And listen, that's how he played last year. And I don't like the argument that he's surrounded by great players. I think he's a really talented football player. If he goes to the right organization, right coaching, like a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL, I think he's going to have a tremendous career.
Well, hell, Patrick Mahomes is surrounded by great players. Aaron Rodgers, how many receivers has he had over the years? Please, miss me with that. The question for you, Matt, is this. Mac Jones, a lot of talk about him in the 49ers. Would the 49ers be making a mistake by taking him at the #3 spot?
B. Marsh, that's a great question. I personally have Justin Fields as my second-rated quarterback, and I would slot him there. From everything I hear, and I'm sure you guys say the same, I know Kyle Shanahan is in love with Mac Jones, but we'll see what happens on Pro Day. That pick for me would be Justin Fields, because I believe Justin Fields expands that playbook. He takes you above the X's and O's with his ability to make plays. And I actually played in that offense. I played for Gary Kubiak in Houston, and actually spoke to Kyle. Kyle was trying to get me as a free agent over in the Redskins years ago. So I know that system extremely well. There's a lot of intricacies, a lot of nuances, but once you master it, obviously we know these types of quarterbacks can have tremendous success. Justin Fields, to me, would be a perfect fit in that system, with the way they run the bootlegs, with the way he likes to get his quarterbacks outside of the pocket. And with his arm strength and his ability, as you see these highlights, I mean, his ability just to make you miss, his athleticism, and the fact that he can throw the football from the pocket. I think he showed that last year in the Clemson game. to me, Justin Fields would be that pick, in my opinion. But listen, Mac Jones really fits the mold of kind of what Kyle likes in the quarterbacks, at least in the last handful of quarterbacks he's had with Kirk Cousins and Jimmy G. But remember, I would say this. Remember, he had RG3 years ago, and it was a dual-threat quarterback, and they made the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting. You trade the farm to get to that pick. You better hit that pick, or else that could set your coaching career, that could set your organization back years.
All right, Matt, I need you to help me with a problem I have. I watched a ton of Mac Jones. I watched a ton of Alabama. I watched the national championship game. I watched no Trey Lance games. He only played one game. It's not like I was watching North Dakota State games. But now, all of a sudden, come draft day, draft season, I'm like, whew, Trey Lance, I don't know anything about him except these little highlights. He looks good. Do you think, and I think that I'm not the only one, I just feel like familiarity breeds contempt, but like familiarity breeds sort of like, I don't know, like we've lost the specialness of Mac Jones, and people are more interested in the unknown of what you can get with Trey Lance. So I guess my question is this. Do you think that Mac Jones has been almost overexposed, has been underrated at this point because we've seen so much of him?
I think it's because he went to Alabama. I mean, you look at it, and again, it's just the narrative that we're talking about with the great players there. And again, he's a one-year wonder, I guess you could say, but so is Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow at LSU, I know he started the year before he had that terrific year, but listen, I mean, you throw on that tape, and he's struggling all season long. They hired Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, and you look at Joe Burrow and the weapons he had with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. And we didn't really talk about that with Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow, God, if they could keep him upright in Cincinnati, I think he showed enough last year that he could be a special player. I think with Mac Jones, you just get tired of seeing Alabama. You get tired of Clemson. These teams are always on top every single year in college football. Actually, we talk about it all the time on our show is it good for college football when you have the same teams at the top? So I think in a way, people aren't excited about Mac Jones because he doesn't have the wow factor as far as maybe what Justin Fields has, even what Trevor Lawrence has and what Trevor Lawrence did from his true freshman year to last year. But you bring up Trey Lance, and I'm the same with Trey Lance. I mean, to me, Trey Lance is a project. I think he has tremendous talent and tremendous skill, but he's a kid who I think needs a handful of years to develop. This is a kid who played at a lower level, which, look, I don't knock him for that. I don't care. If you can play football, you can play football, but that's a big jump going from that to the NFL and trying to have success right away. And then the one game last year, I believe he was, 15 of 30, in that game versus an inferior opponent. And I know COVID and I know all of that stuff, but still, if you're a top 5 pick, you kind of expect more. So, when you watch Trey Lance, I mean, the arm strength pops, the power in which he plays, he runs the football and throws. That's what has teams excited. But to me, Trey Lance is a few years away. Trevor Lawrence, obviously, we know is extremely polished. I think Justin Fields, as I said, he's my quarterback too. Zach Wilson, to me, I think people are in love with the pro day and enamored with just his unique ability to throw the football the way he did in that day, and that shows up on film as well too. But with these quarterbacks, guys, you have to be so in love with them to pick them in the top 5 and hope they are that franchise organization changing player. And you heard just Coach Mangini talk about it. It's very rare to find those guys. And there's a lot of talent in this draft. And B. Marsh, you mentioned Kellen Mond. I love Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond's a sleeper. I think he's a guy that's rising up the draft boards and has a chance to be a terrific pro as well.
We are all in on Kellen Mond here. All right, Matt, play a little drawing a blank with us now. Kyle Pitts lit it up down at Florida's Pro Day yesterday, ran a 4.44 in the 40-yard dash. Confident in what he can accomplish in the league. Very confident. Take a listen to this.
Started at a high level and keep increasing every year and being able to do other things that other tight ends aren't doing, which will make me special. So I feel like at the end of the day, with all the preparation and just through the years, I feel like I'll, at the end, be the best to ever do it.